a bit strange being on this side. Like, thanks, guys. Normally I'm the one that's like, hopping off. But now we get to be here with you guys. It's so cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Anya. If I haven't had the chance to meet you yet, I'm sure we'll have many opportunities yet to come. Like Matt said, I have been part of this church since the beginning of the year, but before that I was in Mexico. My family are missionaries in Mexico. They have been there since I was like 3, so like a really long time, and I was there serving with them, and I absolutely love it. My other part of my heart is there, but a few years ago God kind of started speaking some things into me and kind of encouraged me to make a change, so I'm now here. Yay. And I love it. It's really cool. Yeah. So I want to start off by saying thank you to you guys. This is an absolutely incredible church, and it's such a privilege to be a part of it. I know that it has come from a legacy of people investing and sacrificing and building into this region, and also obviously our current leaders, Matt and Abby, doing an incredible job. But every single one of you for being part of this thing and like loving Jesus and loving people and actually living it out. And this church is so encouraging and so loving, and you just feel like you're part of the community. I want to say thank you for that, and I want to encourage you to keep going, because it's such a privilege and such a beautiful place, and it's been such a blessing in my life to get to experience this. And it's been a season of just getting to hang out and enjoy being in God's presence and being around really cool people. So thanks for being a part of that, and let's keep going. Now onto like the real stuff. Just kidding. That was real too. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I'm not lying. Oh dear, this is a great start. Last time I was up here, actually I probably shouldn't tell that story. Last time I was out here, I definitely fell on my face in that corner during worship before I got on stage. So I think it's a better start. Oh, it's great. Anyway, I wanted to say, grew up in Mexico. So I might not look like your classic Mexican, but it does run through my veins just a wee bit. So when I get excited, I move my hands a lot, and I also get really loud and like start talking really fast. So if that happens, I'm sorry, but like also not really sorry. But so just bear with me. We got this. It's gonna be fine. I promise. It's gonna be fine. So over the past few years, I have been fascinated by this idea of a paradox. And you might be thinking, Anya, you need to get some new hobbies. And you would be right, I do. But the reason that I've been thinking about this idea of paradox is because I had a conversation with a friend a while back about the Bible and how they were struggling to believe the Bible and follow the Bible because there were all these things within it that seemed to contradict each other. And so this led me down the rabbit hole of a paradox, because I do not believe that the Bible contradicts itself. I think there are things that it might seem like that if you take it out of context. So to kind of start with this, I'll define a paradox. The dictionary defines it as a statement or a situation or a statement that seems impossible or is difficult to understand because it contains two opposite facts or characteristics. Another definition says a statement that seems self-contradictory but in reality expresses a possible truth. It's something that seems to go against each other, but actually we need both to express the whole picture. We need both things to really understand the image of what's happening. And the Bible is full of these ideas that are just absolutely fascinating and mind-blowing, and I could talk about it for ages, but these things of like God's greatness combined with his closeness. Like, how do those two things work? I don't know, but we need both to fully understand or try to understand, get a glimpse of who God is. Faith and deeds die to live free. Salvation is free, but it costs absolute everything. I have freedom, but to experience true freedom, I need to actually live within boundaries. All of these ideas of apparent contradictions, but actually tell this beautiful, incredible truth of who God is. So I just am fascinated by it. I could talk about it for ages. I will try not to. But so this is kind of the way through which I approached this message of not just another self-improvement plan. See, I can't pretend to understand God. He's a little bit smarter than me. Thank goodness for that. Otherwise, we'd all be in big trouble. But I venture to propose the idea that perhaps a reason for which he decided to work within these paradoxes is because if we were to work within, it's easy to go to an extreme, right? It's easy to be formulaic. You do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. But all of a sudden, when we have this extreme, and we have to walk in the tension, we have to wrestle and to find this middle place, all of a sudden, it's not so easy. It's not just a formula. It actually requires relationship. It actually requires continual, consistent communication with the one who created it all. Because that's what he truly wants. It's about relationship. And so if we're talking about not just another improvement plan, then what is it? It's transformation. Actual, all-encompassing, radical, life-changing transformation. That's what it's about. And God is a God of both and. And so today that's kind of what I want to talk about for a little bit. Is we need both of these sides, both of these extremes, both of these tensions to make sense of it or try and make sense of it and walk it out. And so as I was asking God for some clarity about this idea, I felt him kind of give me this phrase, which is that it requires encounter to deal with the root, but discipline to deal with the habit. We need encounter to deal with the root, but discipline to deal with the habit. These two things that kind of seem like they contradict each other, kind of two extremes, but we need to kind of wrestle with both of these and walk out the tension. And so that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. So let's start with encounter. Let's talk about this first part, encounter. Now, there's something to be said about self-help books and podcasts and whatever you want to find. There's actually good stuff in there. And the reason that there's good stuff is because it's kind of probably all like a little bit based on the Bible. It's like ideas like, hey, it's a good idea to be in community. Yeah. It's probably a good idea to be generous. Hey, you should probably learn to manage your time. Hey, you should probably learn to communicate with others. Hey, you should probably forgive and love and all of these things that if they had just looked in the Bible, they would have found that it's kind of all there spelled out for us since the beginning of time. We had it right there. Oh, shocker. God knows what he's doing. What a surprise. But see what the self-help books and seminars or whatever you want to call it miss is the actual foundation, the actual important part. See, all of these ideas are good, but they don't work without Jesus. We actually need Jesus to make these things work. These habits, these good ideas, they're great for us, but all of this is just behavioral management that will eventually fail because we're not dealing with the root of the issue. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. It will maybe stop a little bit of the bleeding, but not really. And it's going to be, I don't know why I chose this metaphor. I actually hate blood. I regret this decision. But anyway, it's not really going to do much. In the end, it will eventually fail, and it's just another striving, and it's just another trying, and we're just going to fall short, and we're going to end up in that same mess that we were in before because it requires encounter to actually deal with the root and actual real transformation. See, if I can do all the right things. I can learn to manage my time. I can learn to manage my money. I can learn to budget, and I can work really hard, and I can invest, and I can do everything. But if I don't deal with the root of the love of money, if I don't deal with this need to control things, with this need to figure it out for myself, if I don't deal with all of those and things and have an encounter with Jesus and understand who he is and who I am in him, then it's never going to be enough. I'm going to need more and more and more. It doesn't matter how much I budget. It's never going to be enough. See, I can straighten my hair. I can put on all the makeup. I can eat the best foods and be really healthy, and I can do all of the exercise and the dieting, and I can look absolutely amazing on the outside. But if I don't deal with the root of insecurity, if I don't deal with knowing that I have been purposefully and perfectly designed, and that my value comes not from how I look, but because of who He created me to be, if I don't deal with that, then it doesn't matter how I look, I'm always going to be never enough. I'm always going to be insecure. I'm always going to be looking for more, looking for love, because I don't understand that He loves me. And I could go on and on with all of these options, but I think we get the idea. If we don't have an encounter with the living God, if we don't come to an understanding of who He is and who we are in Him, all of these good ideas are going to be for nothing. And we can see it in the Bible, right? We can see it in John 15, where He just says, remain in me, not in Him, have much fruit, fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Yeah, I did that one at school too. Apart from me, you can do nothing. We need Jesus. We need continual, consistent encounter with Him. We can do nothing without Him. And you're probably going to hear this every week, because that's kind of what it's about. We need to keep running to the feet of Jesus. We need to keep pursuing Him, spending time with Him, listening to Him. Apart from Him, we can do nothing. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for an encounter with Jesus. We could be other places, although I like this place. This is a really cool place, but But see, that's only one piece of the puzzle. That's like one part of it. There's more. But wait, there's more. How exciting. Yay. See, because there is encounter with Jesus. But there's also this other side of it that is discipline, that is intentionality, that is obedience. Because feelings are great initiators, but terrible at follow through. And so if we don't actually have some solid convictions and solid habits in our life, we're going to come into trouble. And I am talking to all the young ones especially, all of us, but young ones. Hey, start building some habits into your life. Be intentional. And so I often find myself thinking back to the story of the Israelites. Oh, the Old Testament has got so many great stories. And so this story is found in Exodus. And so it's this time. Right, so the Israelites are in captivity. They're slaves. It's not a good time. They're sad. They're crying out to God. God's like, okay, cool. I will, listen. I will save you. And so all these incredible things. There's a bunch of plagues that sound absolutely terrible. Not a good time at all. Would not have liked to experience that. But they do, and then Pharaoh eventually lets them go. And so they're marching into freedom, and all of a sudden they are trapped between a bunch of ocean and the Egyptians who are chasing them, right? And so they're like, oh no, what are we going to do? And God's like, don't worry, I got you. And then this amazing, incredible miracle happens where God literally parts the sea. Now, to us, we've heard the story so many times that we kind of stop thinking about how insane that is. But that's really insane. Imagine if we're at the beach and all of a sudden it's it opens up in front of us and we're like, tsunami! I don't know. That would be my reaction. And so it's all of a sudden it's this moment of incredible encounter where God is like, I said I was going to free you when I'm going to free you. Watch me do it. And so the Israelites walk across the ocean. They manage to get to safety, and then whoosh, it all comes back and the Egyptians are drowned, and they suddenly are encountering true freedom because God said He was going to do it and He actually did it. Oh my goodness, shocker. And it's just this incredible experience that these Israelites get to experience. That I wouldn't have thought of that way of freeing them, but God does. And so it's really cool. And then we get this beautiful moment in Exodus 15. Exodus 15. It's this whole chapter. It's a song. It's a song that Moses and the Israelites sing to God. But the first two verses say, then Moses and the Israelites sang the song to the Lord. I'll sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will praise him, my Father's God, and I will exalt him. And it just goes on for this whole chapter, talking about the miracle that God had done and how he was their God and they were his people, and just praising his name. And it's just this beautiful moment of recognition. See, the people, they had already had a covenant previously with Abram. He had decided, you're our God, we're your people. Like, this is it. We're committed. This is going to be a thing. And so they're just reaffirming this now. We're your people. You're our God. You saved us. You're amazing. You're incredible. And just this beautiful moment of surrender and recognition that God had freed them, and they were now living out what he had planned for them. And then it continues in Exodus 20. We talk about the 10 Commandments. God's like, okay, you guys are my peoples. These are probably some ideas that you should take into account to live well and not kill each other. You're used to some weird rules back in Egypt. Let's kind of redirect and live the way that I have designed you to live. So here are some ideas. Here are some rules. Follow these because I love you and I want you to actually succeed and thrive in life. So here are some good things for you to do. And so okay, cool, we're going to do that. And then suddenly Moses gets called up to go talk to God up on a mountain. And then we get these verses in Exodus 32. It doesn't take long for them to start freaking out. And they're like, oh no, Moses is gone. We don't know what to do. And he wasn't gone for that long. And like, I know, we should make our own gods. This is the solution. Clearly, this is what we should do. They come down from the mountain and gather around Aaron and say, come make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who brought us out of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him. So Aaron answers them, take off gold earrings that your wives, your son, and your daughters are wearing and bring them to me. So all the people took off their earrings and brought them to Aaron. He took what they handed him and made it into an idol, cast in the shape of a calf, fastening it with a tool. Then they said, these are your gods, Israel, who brought you out of Egypt. What? Did you, that happened 6 minutes ago. What? It's just bro, he opened up the ocean. He made food fall from heaven. And 2 seconds later, you're like, nah, I don't think it was him. Let's make up our own one. That's going to be a great idea. See, the moment that things got hard, the moment that things got a little bit uncertain, uncomfortable, they went back to what they knew. God had had an encounter with them. He had dealt with the root. They were free. They were no longer slaves, and yet they still had a habit of slavery. They went back to what they knew to be true, and they went back to their old ways, and they forgot everything that God had told them. He'd clearly said in Exodus 20, don't make any other gods. Don't do that. That's bad. And they're like, I know what's a great idea. Let's make a god. And see, we might sit here and judge them, but how many times do we do the same thing? How many times have we had this incredible encounter with God during worship, we've had some great worship times lately. It's been incredible. During our time at home, we have these moments, this revelation, God speaks, and we're like, yes, I got this. But as soon as things get hard, as soon as things get a little rocky, as soon as they get uncomfortable, I'm going back to my old habits. I'm going back to the way that I used to live. I'm going to go back to watching Netflix as a way to distract myself. I'm going to go back to the people that I used to hang out with. I'm going to go back to those old habits that were working, that were Band-Aids, but they're not actually dealing with the root. How many times do we do the same thing that the Israelites did? And so see, we need intentionality, we need discipline, we need this obedience to actually change our habits. And I want to be really careful about how I say this, because I don't want to leave you guys with a mistaken idea. It's not about earning our salvation. It's not about doing good things so that God will love me more. No. Salvation is through Jesus alone. He's done it all. And nothing we can do is ever going to make him love us more or less. But it's an invitation. And we get to decide, do we want to stay here stuck in this slavery mindset and these same habits that are keeping me here and cannot move any further? Or do we want to be free? Do we want to walk in more power and freedom and joy? Do we want our lives to be actually and truly transformed? As we get to decide. I think we do ourselves in Christianity a disfavor when we say that following Jesus is easy. And again, we're getting into a whole other paradox, right? But it's actually really costly. It costs us everything we have. It's actually a big deal, and we can't just pick and choose. It's actually following everything he says. So the cool thing is that the Bible and science agree that there is good news and that habits can actually be changed. Yay! It does require work, it does require intentionality. But we know the verse in Romans, right? Romans 12, 1 and 2. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Yeah. Science. Now, I'm not a scientist, guys, so you can look it up for yourself. But I have heard this idea of neural pathways and neuroplasticity. Neural pathways are the idea that there's literal grooves in our brain that take us from one place to another. And they get deeper and deeper as we keep going down that pathway. Have you ever hopped into your car and gotten somewhere and didn't even realize how you got there? That doesn't happen to me. It's fine, guys. It's safe. Any police officers? It's all good. It's all good. I am 100% focused on the road. But that's a habit. It's an automatic. We don't even realize we're doing there. It's not intentional. It's just, it takes us there. It's an automatic pathway. And we have that, right? If I'm feeling low, I might just grab a chocolate. If I don't know. So many habits that we have in our brain. But the thing is, the good news is that we can actually change those. We can redirect the pathway. And the more times that we go that direction, the other one slowly starts to close up, and the new one starts getting deeper and deeper, and that becomes our automatic. That becomes our go-to. There is actually a way to change our habits, but it requires choosing to walk that direction. It requires obedience. It requires intentionality. It requires a decision day after day, moment after moment. I do not choose to go back to my old ways, but I will be obedient. I will follow what God is saying. I will read my Bible. I will go to church, not because I have to, but I'm choosing to do this. Even when I don't feel like it, even when I'm tired, I'm going to choose to place myself in a position where I'm creating a habit that will then dictate where I go in my life. I choose to go where God is telling me to go because I want transformation. It's our choice. I think God gave me a picture a few years ago, maybe quite a few years ago now. And it was the water, and Jesus was in the water. He's kind of extending his hand out to me, and I was standing at the edge. And it was my choice whether I decided to step in or not. And he often reminds me of this picture. And sometimes, you're thinking, it's cold, and it's winter, Jesus. Don't have my togs on. I just straightened my hair like I don't want it to get, it just got all cute. It took me half an hour. Jesus is just, hey, it's up to you. You can keep standing there, or you can take a step. Get a little bit wet. It's our choice. Am I going to choose to keep stepping through? It's not just self-improvement, it's transformation. It's an invitation to become more like who he created us to be. It's an invitation to keep ripping away our sinful nature and choosing him. Now, he is the one that dealt with sin, but we can choose to partner with sin or partner with Jesus with every moment, every decision, every day. Choose to be in continual communication with the one who created us. Three years ago, I noticed that there was something strange going on with my voice. And that's pretty normal. I get passionate. I yell sometimes. It's so good. And so sometimes my voice gets really tired, and so it gets a little raspy. And that's normal after like a really great Sunday. That's when you know Holy Spirit was moving when you can't speak the next day, right, Max? He was really going for it yesterday, and I was like this, yeah. And so, yeah, my voice was like a little bit off. And so I was like, probably should do something about it. And then decided to do nothing about it for the next 2 months. But procrastination, it's a gift of mine. It's good times. And so eventually I realized I probably should actually do something about it. It's not going away. I'm really husky and speaking like this. And then it really hit me when I was trying to sing on a Sunday, and I was leading worship, and it was a song. I love that song. It's a great song. And like normally there was this moment in the song that was like going all for it, and I would like hit the note, and it was just this incredible time, and everyone was like, yeah, and just good times. And so I was getting ready for it. I was like, here it comes the note. I'm gonna go for it. And so I went to sing the note, and nothing. Complete silence. I was like, hello, hello. So I was like, that's weird. That's really strange. What's going on? So I went to go check out my voice, and I got a camera shoved down my throat. It is the absolute worst experience of my life. It was traumatic. Yeah. Anyway, turns out that my vocal cords had a problem that could really only be fixed through surgery. And so that was terrifying. Eventually I did get the surgery, and I had to spend a whole week on vocal rest, complete vocal rest. I couldn't speak, I couldn't sing, I couldn't cough. And that might be like, oh, that's not a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. A whole week of complete silence. Like, I had to write down things to communicate with people. It was the longest week of my life. And then after that week, the doctor said that I could kind of start using my voice normally, and so I did. And it was supposed to heal within like a month, and I could get back to singing and talking, and it was supposed to be great. But the thing was that time came and went, and I was actually feeling worse than before the surgery. My voice was raspy. I couldn't really use it. I was in this situation where I just felt utterly useless. See, my job is teaching, so I used my voice there, and I was leading teams at church, and I had to like write instructions and like wave them in the air, be like, move this to over this side. And so that was really frustrating, really time consuming, because you have so much time on a Sunday morning to set things up, right? It's when you most have time. It's not true. There's never enough time. And I couldn't sing. And the months kept passing by, and I was in this place of desperation because I couldn't even go out with a friend to have coffee because the cafes were too loud. So I was basically in silence for months on end, where I couldn't do the thing that I had always done, where I felt completely just broken and useless and have nothing to offer. And I was like, God, I have nothing. What am I supposed to do with my life? I can't do my job. I can't serve you at church. I can't even talk to friends. What am I supposed to do now? But God, I was supposed to do this thing. And I remember being at church on a Sunday and just hearing this invitation, Anya, will you praise me? I was like, God, I don't know how. I don't have a voice. I can't use my voice. It's Anya, will you praise me? It's like, God, anything but this. Don't ask me to do this. This is the most painful thing. You can do anything else, but this place where I have learned to connect with you and lead others, where I have felt most useful, and when I have encounters with you, this place where I can now no longer do how I used to do, this place that it hurts to be here, God. I don't know how to do it. Anya, will you praise me? I didn't want to. I was a little grumpy. Anya, will you praise me? And so I fell back on the habits that I had created since I was like 3, because my mom says that I sang before I talked. Every Sunday I praise. Every morning I praise. No matter what's happening, I praise. I bless his name. And so I stood there, I raised my hands, I jumped up and down, and I mouthed those words harder than anyone's ever mouthed any words in the history of ever. I said, God, I praise you. I don't feel like it. I'm angry. I'm sad. I don't know what's going to be of my life, but I will praise you, for you are worthy. I will lift up your name, for you are worthy. I will give you everything I've got. I will trust you in this moment. I will continue this habit, this discipline of praise, lifting up the name that is above every name. Even though I don't feel it, I will give it all to you. I will bring an offering of praise to you, Jesus. Spoiler alert, my voice came back. Yay. Thank you, Jesus. It wasn't actually, I was being a tad dramatic and impatient. It did eventually come back and everything was fine. But in that moment, it felt my life was over. But can I tell you, in those moments where I chose the habit, where I chose the discipline, where I did the thing even though I didn't feel like doing the thing, those moments changed my praise forever. Can I tell you that when I get the privilege of standing on this stage and singing, bless God with a praise that cost me, those aren't empty words. I have lived out what it's like to bless God with a praise that cost me, and I'm sure it won't be the last time that I do that. But I have built a habit in my life of praising God every chance I get. John 15. Nope, John 14. Before John 15. It says, if you love me, you will obey my commands. It's love and obedience. It's encounter and discipline. It's these two things that work together to tell a whole story. Can't have one without the other. And then it keeps saying, and I will ask my Father, and he will give you another counselor to be with you forever. I mean, we get to do it all holding on to the hand of the Holy Spirit. We can't do it on our own. We've talked about that for 3 weeks, so, I think we're all on the same page here. We don't have to do it alone. We've got the Holy Spirit. We've got the power to do this. And can you imagine? Can you imagine what it would look like if I decide to be obedient, if you decide to be obedient, if we decide to create habits when we are disciplined and we open our Bible even though we don't feel like it, when we decide to lift up our hands in praise even though we don't feel like it, if we decide to share about Jesus and who he is even though we don't feel like it. Can you imagine what our households would look like? Can you imagine what our schools would look like? Can you imagine what our workplace, our community, could you imagine this place transformed because we decided to be obedient? Can you imagine what could happen, what God could do in this space if we don't just leave it at those moments of encounter, but decide, I'm going to take this. I'm going to believe what God is saying to be true, and I'm going to walk it out in my life. I am going to be obedient. I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to have a habit of praise and prayer and live it out. Can you imagine? It's not just another self-improvement plan. It is an encounter with the all-living God, with our Savior who gave it all. It is in taking a step in the direction of understanding who he is and who I am in him. Not so that I can be better for myself, but because he has called me into it. And then I can be a more effective messenger. Because together, we can start living out heaven on earth. We can start actually entering into those promises. We can actually start living out in generosity, in freedom, in grace, in forgiveness, in peace, in joy. So can I invite you to stand?